It is presently the 19 villain admirers calling an evil presence directly from damnation. They are leading this around evening time inside a separated backwoods region. To bring an evil presence solid grown-up must be forfeited, and they have effectively grabbed one. The detached region is a property of an old veteran named Bill, who is visiting the grave of his dead spouse. Subsequent to giving his significant other a new rose, he hears a clamor radiating from some place. After taking a gander at it, he sees Satan admirers pushing their conciliatory man down to the pits of misery. They continue to recite an unknown dialect that ultimately calls a dim variety evil presence. The head of Satan admirers, Joshua, lets the evil spirit know that he will be taken care of and really focused on by Satan admirers to get its solidarity and sustenance. After the evil spirit leaves, Joshua can hardly imagine how the bringing has functioned. Occasionally later, the modest community of Trust Valley gets another sheriff named Joe, who is as yet acclimating to the modest community. He is welcomed by a technician named Rick who makes casual chit-chat with him. Joe lets Rick know that he really loves a calm town, in spite of the fact that he is still during the time spent adjusting. The sheriff then enters the police division where he gets some information about some news in regards to the town. However, all they can answer to him are everyday things, and Joe, who is another Yorker, is not used to this. They even discussion about rabies vampires and a film just the sheriff knows one of the cops Teddy pardons himself from the police division. The other cop Liz lets the sheriff know that Teddy has eyes only for somebody. Just after this, the cop heads to the nearby bar where he finds the delightful woman barkeep Deanna moving and cleaning. Deanna inquires as to whether he would like an espresso, and Teddy acknowledges. She then gets some information about the new sheriff, and he portrays him as tranquil. Deanna imagines that this is on the grounds that the sheriff is forlorn as he doesn't know anybody in the town. It is here that a resident named Harry enters the premises. Here he tells the cop that the sheriff has still not yet moved all through the town, which is the reason certain individuals view him as cold. In light of this, Teddy then, at that point, withdraws. As he goes out, Harry desires Deanna to admit her adoration to the cop as of now. At the point when Teddy gets back to the police headquarters, the old veteran Bill has likewise quite recently entered the station conveying a shotgun. He is there to give a grievance with respect to certain intruders on his property. Phil makes sense of that the intruders are shrouded in sheets. They have a person with them, and they have gathered what he depicts as an enormous being which enters the body of the person. Obviously Joe doesn't completely accept this and thinks the veteran is simply mixing up certain children celebrating on his property. In any case, Bill lets him know that nobody in the town at any point comes near his property, and the sheriff doesn't have the foggiest idea about it since he is only new here. All at once a canine proprietor named Renard enters the police headquarters and inquires as to whether anybody has seen his canine rain guard. This prompts a contention between the canine proprietor and Bill on the grounds that the veteran believes the canine should be on a rope. Just after this, Bernard leaves. Joe lets Bill know that he will look into his protest, and the veteran answers that he has previously pre-arranged the spot for him. The veteran likewise cautions the cops that the telephone lines may be down and that they need to depend on radio. They need to speak with one another. After the veteran leaves, this notes that the elderly person is actually a dreadful individual and that he has been seeing bizarre things recently. In light of this, the sheriff goes out to go to the close-by nearby radio broadcast. There he inquires as to whether she has heard something weird in the channels. She answers that she has not heard anything and furthermore encourages the sheriff to relax in light of the fact that not all towns are terrible. In the meantime, Teddy is cruising all over in his squad car to search for Bernard's canine. He is conversing with Liz on the radio when he sees some blood out and about close by an unwanted bike that appears to have a place with the nearby paperboy, Timmy. Teddy likewise sees the hooded man that Bill is discussing. At the point when he pivots briefly, the men have previously vanished. Finding the abnormal, Teddy promptly gets back to his vehicle and drives off. In the meantime, a couple is making out inside their vehicle when it unexpectedly shakes. The young fellow verifies who or what is causing this vibration. A couple of seconds after the fact, the young fellow returns, however he is mad, advising his sweetheart to open the vehicle entryway. Be that as it may, he moves pulled away by the dark evil spirit, and in a moment, his sweetheart shouts at seeing the beast cleaning its horrendous hand on the windshield. Later on, in the wake of eating tissue, the evil presence's horns rise up out of the tag, demonstrating that it is developed. Simultaneously, the veteran Bill experiences three hooded men outside his property inside his property. He simply snickers at them as about their presence and senseless appearance. The hooded men are each outfitted with a sharp weapon. However, Bill isn't frightened of them since he has war insight. Bill advises them to come near him, and one of the hooded men does so just to step out traveling wire that sets off a blast, and other hooded man endeavors to come nearer from one more side which triggers him. Other blast, the last hooded man stalls his foot out in a bear trap placed close to Bill, who then, at that point, utilizes his explosives to complete his foe. In the meantime, Joe is eating at the nearby burger joint. The proprietor of the coffee shop, Barry, asks he loves the food, and the sheriff answers that her burger is as yet awesome. All of a sudden the server in the event that Cindy comes in late, yet Mary wouldn't fret. It appears to be that Cindy has not met the new sheriff yet. The server asks Joe what got him here, this modest community, and he answers that he simply needs to move away from New Yorkers as a difference in landscape. Not having any desire to talk any longer, Joe pays for the dinner and disappears. However, as he is leaving, police officer Liz enters the cafe and desperately enlightens the sheriff regarding clearly commotions coming from Bill's home. At the point when the sheriff passes on, the charmed Cindy attempts to adorably express farewell to him, yet promptly crunches what she said. Since the matter is critical, the sheriff overlooks a man calling out to him. After he leaves, the child of the radio telecaster Bobby gets some information about the conveyance of the crankshaft belt. Rick calls for it on the telephone, with the line out of nowhere goes dead. They find that all the call lines all through the town appear to be dead too. They additionally ancestral landline at Georgia's office, thinking that it is likewise non-functional. Georgia out of nowhere seems terrifying her child and Rick. They then talk about over the dead phone lines, and Georgia is believing on the off chance that it has something to do with the sheriff's request prior. The radio telecaster opens the radio, where they hear Joe's radio discussion with Teddy, who is getting back to town. Thus the inquisitive three stand up to the cop asking what is truly happening utilizing the radio. Teddy lets them know that while he is paying special attention to the missing canine, he sees Timmy's chomp next to a pool of blood. He needs to settle on a telephone decision to Timmy's guardians, however it isn't possible for the present. The cop then imagines that this should be associated with the occurrence with Bill, in light of the fact that Liz and the sheriff are going there as they talk. In the meantime, Joe and Liz show up at Bill's property. He sees the veteran's boots shrouded in blood as well as a landmine on the ground. After seeing his neglected wheelchair slouched over, Joe turns around to Liz. In any case, behind the cop is the horned devil, who promptly crushes her unfortunate head. Joe is marginally stunned by this, yet he rapidly discharges his weapon toward the evil presence. His destiny is obscure. That evening, Teddy makes an honest effort to contact his kindred cops, yet no reaction at any point returns. The townsfolk are confident that Joe and Liz are simply likely conversing with the veteran about the blasts. In any case, Rick the specialist imagines that there is something genuinely off base, particularly in light of the fact that the sheriff is a savvy, distrustful man that came from the enormous city. In any case, Teddy is confident that his kindred cops will return solid. As such, he will circumvent the town to notice and safeguard. He will likewise keep an eye on the canine proprietor Bernard to keep him from looking for his canine. Others have likewise decided to help in their own particular manner. Rick has chosen to make a beeline for Bill's property and check what occurred. Georgia heads to the radio broadcast and tunes in for anything dubious on the radio. Bobby will mind other residents and top them off on the thing is happening. They are by all accounts not the only ones moving, as the hooded men have likewise chosen to take action. Teddy then, at that point, gets Rick actually remaining before his vehicle. Simultaneously, the two of them tell each other that their vehicle batteries are no more. Rick estimates that every one of the vehicles in the area are presumably without batteries. This implies that somebody doesn't believe they should leave Trust Valley. He additionally has no extra batteries available, and they need to sit tight for the phone lines to return. Obviously, Teddy would have rather not held up that long, with every one of the strange things occurring around them. In the meantime, Deanna is making a garbage run when she experiences the hooded man. Having no clue about what their identity is, she attempts to get some information about their business with her. The hooded man before her makes his goal clear when he takes out a blade, inciting the terrified lady to shout for help. Katie hears this and comes running, abandoning Rick. The cop shows up with perfect timing to kill the hooded man who was going to kill Deanna. Another adversary assaults Teddy and figures out how to eliminate his weapon. However, Deanna returns with a digging tool and over attacks the foe with it. To such an extent that the police officer needs to prevent her from proceeding further from going on further. Nonetheless, one more rush of agony. Here Harry acts the hero, advising them to quickly pass on it to him and close the entryway. Notwithstanding his chivalrous demonstration, the foes effectively and quickly killed a bold man. In the meantime, Rick has simply looked for his weapon when he hears a sound from outside his mechanic's shop. Gradually, the repairman goes outside to check and get the spot. A hooded man out of nowhere goes after him from behind, however he effectively kills him with 2 shots. He cautiously moves toward the one he had quite recently killed when another runs behind him, making him shoot. Another, a lot taller hooded individual then, at that point, shows up, maybe needing to have a one-man-to-another battle with the foe. Rick chooses to utilize his handy-dandy crowbar rather as his scuffle weapon. In any case, when one more hooded individual seems, Rick penances himself by taking shots at the close-by fuel tanks. The blast is adequately huge to take the adversaries out. Its uproarious sound is heard by the other residents close to the area. Thus, not entirely settled to return to the police headquarters to satisfy his obligation to serve and safeguard the piano, and Bobby are justifiably troubled at the thought in light of the fact that returning out is very nearly a short method for dying. However, the police officers demand, since it is simply nearby and there are more weapons put away inside. Here Deanna finds and hands over a polished ash to Teddy so he can essentially arm himself in his perilous journey. With a slugging stick close by, Kenny vows to discuss through the neighborhood radio once he returns to the police headquarters. In any case, Bobby sees that somebody is moving from the smoky auto shop, which ends up being Rick. Subsequent to enduring the blast, Rick yells for Bernard's name since he simply lives close by. Yet, while he is in a real sense strolling toward Bernard's house, the evil spirit takes him by the head and kills him. Simultaneously, inside Mary's burger joint, a hooded man with a hatchet shows up behind the old woman and rapidly cuts her. The grisly sight makes Cindy shout as loud as possible. She figures out how to take off from the foe, yet falls out and about. As the hooded man moves toward the unnerved server, the furious radio telecaster Georgia saves her by shooting a shotgun at the foe. She rapidly takes Cindy with her, and the two of them hurry to where Teddy and the others are remaining. After entering, Georgia asks Rick's whereabouts. That Cindy answers that the specialist is dead. With the entirety of this occurrence, Georgia asks what is happening, adding that she doesn't get anything from the radio, not even from the sheriff or Liz. Bobby recommends that they ought to call someone, however she lets them know that everything they can manage right now is to communicate what's going on and trusts that someone is driving close by. Despite the fact that Teddy thinks this is a remote chance, he concurs. As of now, Giorgio is now maddened by what's going on. Cindy is doubtful in the event that the police officer can get back to the police headquarters, securely admitting that she found in person the powerfully took Rick. It is currently obvious to them that they are managing something extraordinary and otherworldly. In any case, the police officer demands that he should return to the police headquarters since it is his work. He then requests that Diana draw out her one-way radio, which they will use to speak with his walkie-talkie. Nonetheless, since it is a one-way radio, no one but Teddy can speak with them, however they can't answer him. That's what the cop guarantees. In the event that he returns with the firearms and ammunition, he will ensure that they will all get by. Be that as it may, before he can get out, Georgia spots something bizarre outside, inciting the others to look also. They see a hooded man hauling his departed partner into the timberland. Bobby feels that they are taking care of something behind the trees, while every one of them are diverted. The courageous cop chooses to go out to the rear of the store to leave them undisturbed. It is as of now past the point of no return when Deanna sees that Teddy has disappeared. Outside, Teddy cautiously strolls through the dull roads. He rapidly experiences a hooded man equipped with a crowbar. A scuffle fight results, with Teddy becoming dwarfed when another foe arises. Despite the fact that he figures out how to fight just a little, the foes are still a lot for the cop. Similarly, as he is going to be hit by a polished ash, he is protected by Joe, who abruptly shows up with his face all canvassed in blood. Furnished with a shotgun, his sheriff quickly arranges Teddy to go inside the police headquarters. In the wake of getting inside, that he obstructed the entryway with a table to forestall interruption. Teddy can't resist the urge to shout that Joe is supernaturally still alive. At the point when he asks the sheriff where Liz is, Joe quietly shakes his head, showing that she has kicked the bucket. He asks Joe what's going on with the town, who answers that a man-eating evil presence has been gathered from the profundities of misery in the profundities of misery. Teddy then proceeds to administrator and how he moved away from the beast's being. Incidentally, Joe utilized Bill's claymore mine to blow the devil. Hearing this, Teddy recollects that they have a dangerous gadget and the proof storage. It has been there since last year when the sheriff before Joe seized it from Bill. He advises Joe to open the proof storage who can't accept the obvious reality. After discovering that there are then again different survivors, Joe teaches Teddy to ensure they get by. To do this, Teddy will draw the hooded men from the area, while Joe will explode the bomb on the beast. That this guidance conveys back to Deanna the others about Joe actually being alive. While he is advising them to set up the entry for their appearance, Bobby helps cut by the foes through the restricted break in the entryway. The injured Bobby promptly calls for help, and the three ladies immediately lay him down on the pool table. Cindy and Deanna press the wrap on Bobby's injury to stop the draining, while Giorgio is consoling his hurt child. Be that as it may, regardless of their aggregate endeavors, Bobby actually bites the dust from his injury. In the meantime, Teddy is as of now back out in the roads to battle the hood.